The sun had not yet risen when the first sound cut through the jungle air, a low, steady thunder rolling across the sky. Moments later, black military helicopters emerged from the mist, their blades slicing through the humid dawn. This remote training base, hidden deep within Southeast Asia, had seen many joint exercises before, but never one with this level of tension. As the helicopters touched down with perfect precision, elite U.S. Army Special Forces stepped out in flawless formation. Their movements were sharp, confident, and practiced. These were soldiers forged in deserts, mountains, and war zones across the world. Every step they took carried the weight of reputation. Across the open field, partially hidden by tall trees and morning fog, stood the Filipino Special Forces. They did not rush forward. There were no loud commands or dramatic displays. They simply watched. Calm faces. Quiet discipline. Their uniforms were worn, their boots marked by years of jungle patrols. To some observers, their silence seemed unimpressive, almost ordinary. A few foreign officers whispered among themselves, clearly assuming this would be a routine exercise dominated by American strength and technology. Cameras were set up around the base. International military observers stood behind safety lines, notebooks in hand. This was more than training, it was a test of doctrine, adaptability, and mindset. The rules were simple, no ego, no real bullets, but full commitment. Pride was unspoken, yet heavy in the air. As the rotors slowed and the jungle grew quiet again, the two forces finally faced one another. There were no taunts, no smiles. Just nods of acknowledgement. In that brief moment, something invisible passed between them, mutual awareness. The Americans saw professionalism. The Filipinos saw confidence. Neither side knew it yet, but this silent meeting would become the beginning of a story that would shock military analysts around the world and redefine what true battlefield master. The first phase of the joint exercise began just as the sun climbed above the jungle canopy. Heat wrapped itself around the base like a heavy blanket, testing endurance before the drills even started. Whistles blew, timers were set, and the competition quietly ignited. The U.S. Army Special Forces surged forward with explosive energy. They powered through obstacle courses, scaled walls with speed, and completed long-distance runs in near-perfect time. Their physical dominance was undeniable. Observers nodded in approval, scribbling notes as American efficiency and strength set an intimidating benchmark. Then the focus shifted. The training scenario changed from open-field performance to jungle warfare simulation. Dense foliage swallowed visibility. Narrow trails twisted unpredictably. Humidity blurred optics and slowed breathing. This was where confidence began to shift. The Filipino Special Forces did not rush. They slowed their pace, reading the terrain, listening to the forest itself. Hand signals replaced words. Every step was deliberate. As U.S. units advanced aggressively, relying on formation and technology, they found themselves unsure of their surroundings. Paths led to dead ends. Markers disappeared. Meanwhile, Filipino teams moved almost invisibly, using shadows, trees, and natural cover as if the jungle were part of their unit. They anticipated movement, blocked escape routes, and redirected opponents without direct confrontation. Instructors watching from elevated platforms exchanged glances. Radios buzzed with unexpected reports. American units were being delayed, misdirected, and outmaneuvered. No rules were broken. No tricks were used. This was pure tactical awareness, built from years of operating in similar environments. By midday, sweat-soaked soldiers regrouped. The Americans were surprised, not frustrated, but curious. The Filipinos remained composed, offering no celebration, no reaction. To them, this wasn't a victory or defeat. It was simply how the. As darkness enveloped the jungle, a new tension filled the air. The day's drills were over, but the most critical exercise was about to begin, a simulated night ambush and capture mission. The U.S. Army units, equipped with advanced night vision goggles, infrared sensors, and tactical radios, moved in formation along narrow jungle trails. Every step was measured, every sound amplified in the quiet night. Confidence radiated from their every movement. They had technology, training, and firepower on their side. Unseen by the Americans, the Filipino Special Forces melted into the shadows. They moved silently, blending into the jungle as though it were an extension of their bodies. No gear glinted. No movement betrayed their presence. Years of operating in dense forests and mountainous regions had honed their instincts to near perfection. They understood the rhythm of the night, the sound of broken twigs, the shift of wind, and the movement of their targets. Minutes passed. The U.S. units advanced cautiously, unaware that the enemy was already surrounding them. Suddenly, without warning, a Filipino operator appeared on a ridge, signaling silently. In rapid succession, teams struck from multiple angles. The Americans heard nothing, no gunfire, no shouting, only the invisible marking of tagged out soldiers as part of the exercise rules. Confusion spread quickly. Soldiers tried to regroup, but every move was anticipated. Every retreat was countered. Within a matter of minutes, the simulated mission was over, the target was secured entirely by the Filipino team. When the lights of observers' cameras caught the final positions, jaws dropped. The U.S. soldiers, exhausted and surprised, looked around in disbelief. What they had encountered was not luck or improvisation, it was mastery. The Filipinos, calm as ever, simply regrouped and waited for the debrief. This night had rewritten expectations. In the jungle, skill, patience, and precision outweighed technology and raw strength. The first light of dawn broke through the jungle canopy, casting golden rays over the sweat-streaked soldiers. The night's intense ambush had left both forces exhausted, yet something remarkable lingered in the air: respect. The U.S. Army commanders, initially confident in their superior technology and experience, now approached the Filipino Special Forces with a mixture of admiration and humility. What had seemed like a routine joint exercise had transformed into a profound lesson in skill, strategy, and adaptability. Handshakes were exchanged, firm and sincere. Small gestures, adjusting gear, sharing water, nods of acknowledgement, spoke volumes. American soldiers asked questions about tactics, movements, and observation techniques. Filipino operatives answered calmly, explaining not just the how, but the why behind every action. It was an unspoken lesson in discipline, patience, and environmental mastery. The U.S. troops listened intently, absorbing knowledge they could not have learned from manuals or simulations. Around the base, cameras and notebooks recorded everything. Analysts and observers from various countries whispered to each other, noting that the balance of perceived power had shifted. The exercise had not just tested physical endurance, it had tested intuition, strategy, and mental acuity. Filipino forces had proven that experience and understanding of terrain could rival, and even surpass, raw technological advantage. Despite the momentous display, the Filipino soldiers remained humble. One senior officer simply stated, "We train to protect our land. Everything else follows." It was a philosophy that resonated far beyond national pride, it was a universal truth of mastery over environment and self. By the end of the morning, the narrative had shifted. Rivalry had transformed into mutual respect. Both forces now shared stories, laughed lightly, and exchanged patches, a symbolic acknowledgement of skill and honor. The world was watching, and the message was. By midday, the final debrief had concluded, but the story was far from over. Footage from the exercises, taken by drones, ground cameras, and journalists, began circulating online. Clips of Filipino Special Forces quietly outmaneuvering and outsmarting elite U.S. Army units spread like wildfire. Social media erupted. Hashtags celebrating the silent warriors of the Philippines trended globally. Military analysts, bloggers, and commentators dissected every frame, stunned by the combination of strategy, patience, and precision displayed in the jungle. Viewers around the world watched in awe as the Filipinos executed maneuvers that seemed impossible. Their movements were fluid, coordinated, and almost invisible to the untrained eye. The American units, while highly trained and technologically advanced, appeared caught off guard by the skill and intuition of their counterparts. Comments poured in from veterans, military enthusiasts, and ordinary civilians alike, expressing disbelief, admiration, and respect. Many remarked that the video was a wake-up call to the world's assumptions about military superiority. The Filipino Special Forces, for their part, remained composed. No celebrations. No boasting. Their focus was always on discipline and mission success, not accolades. Yet, their actions had made a statement that reverberated far beyond the jungle. Global military circles acknowledged that skill, training, and intimate knowledge of terrain could rival even the most advanced armies. For the U.S. soldiers, it was a humbling experience, but also an inspiring one. They had learned invaluable lessons, gained new perspectives, and forged bonds of mutual respect. In interviews, some openly admitted that the Filipino unit had taught them more in 2 days than months of conventional training. As the footage continued to go viral, a powerful truth became undeniable: the world had witnessed more than a training exercise. It had witnessed a testament to strategy, courage, and the true